customer development. And thanks, Ben, for stealing the question, who has done it before. The Startup Genome Project brought up one, for us, very critical statistic. And that is 74% of startups fail because of a lack of customers. And we put that in brackets actually, because it's not only startups, it's also corporates. If you're working with new products in corporates, they cannot tell as much about it as startups. They're not vanishing, and it will always be a success story, whatever they release. But if you're taking an inside perspective, it's not. So you see competitor products popping up, vanishing. You see your own products popping up, vanishing. So innovation for corporates is as hard as for startups, just in a different way. And so when we look at that and we apply Lean Startup, then the one thing that we've learned is that the business model matters. So who knows the business model canvas right here? Basically everyone. So the business model canvas has become a very lightweight tool to describe how your business is going to work, how you reach your customers, how you generate value, how you locate it to the market. And this thing has two most important things. But as a Lean Startup, the first thing I should mention is that if you do Lean Startup, you know that every single entry that you put into the business model canvas is an assumption. So every conclusion you take from things you've encountered, from things you've learned, you put it into there, it's an assumption that in the new model it will also work like you've been seeing it before. So that's the first mindset we apply when doing Lean Startup. The business model is an assumption in every single entry. Now, like I said, there are two very basic fundamentals of that business model. And that is the customer segment that you're looking at and the value proposition that you're providing. Okay? Why is that? That is because if you get them wrong, you need to adjust everything else. If you try to go for everyone, every consumer in Germany, and you later find out, okay, it's a much smaller group, then you may need different marketing tactics. If you go for senior people and then you find out, wow, they don't have smartphones, then you need a very different sales channel. So whatever changes there changes everything, or may change everything, okay? So that's why we need to look into that much closer. So when you think about your customer segment, the two basic questions are, who exactly is your customer? So if you have a consumer product, don't tell me it's consumers. I'm going to ask which consumers and why. And the maybe even more important question is, why would they care? You may remember that we, a few weeks ago, had a session on pricing. And actually, this is the root of all pricing. Why would they care? What's the problem? What's the effects the problem has? And looking at the value proposition that we have, the question will be, will they buy it? Just as simple as that. And after they've bought it, will it work? Meaning, does it actually generate the value that you said it would? Which you don't know, because you're not your customer. You're not seeing how they exactly do it. So, to rephrase what Startup Genome Project found, this is what we found. Most startups fail because they don't really know their customers. You're nodding. Testbers is nodding. I'm feeling good. So let me show you the most simplified startup failure process you will ever find. I've just registered a trademark for the unified startup process called USP. Just kidding. But as simple as it gets. So you're doing anything, whatever you do, it's going to be hustle, brain, talent, team, and some secret sauce, and it's going to generate a product and service offer, right? Whatever you do, whatever process you follow, in the end, there will be sales. You're going to use any kind of channel, and then it's your customer's decision. Whatever you specify, this is what you cannot specify. This is what you need to understand and measure, okay? So, that's why understanding the customer is so important. Because he's going to do the ultimate decision on your startup success. no matter how much blood, sweat, and tears you've put in first. So, thinking about that, that is the most important thing. Remember how you're going to sell once you've launched. You're going to sell by whatever flyer or website or mobile app store site. Basically, you're going to sell with a few sentences and maybe some image material. Now there's Steve reminding us that people don't read, they scan, right? So if you then have your great landing page and you're trying to sell it to millions of people, you already need to know who will visit your site, how do you get their attention exactly with a few words or very little image material, and how do you then actually make them buy, okay? All that needs to be already distilled. So if you do that very well, here's an example of how Asana does it. Look at this page. What do you see? Basically, you're looking at the one headline. Everything else I've never read before and afterwards. But teamwork without email is a good example how a startup has distilled the problem they are solving. Right? Teamwork without email. What are they going for? Take a shot.
Teams.
How many emails do you get if you're working with a team?
More than you'd like.
Right, too many. It's as simple as that. So that is why they're going for teamwork without email. They've understood the problem and they are already indicating the solution. There's not much more to say with 3 words. Okay? So that's really a tremendous way that they have understood the problem. So I would love to do a little experiment with you guys. I've never tried this before, so we're really going lean. Now, who of you has a startup idea or is already working on one? Okay, do you have pen and paper or some smartphone or something to write to? I'd love to ask you 3 questions which you are going to answer for yourself. Okay, so pick up paper and pen or your smartphone. So, everyone has an idea. Now, here are my 3 questions. Number 1, who's your customer? And tell it so precisely. Give me a subsegment of your customers that you think has a 50% or better chance that when I find them, I will be able to sell them face to face. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to find them for you based on your description. I'm going to sell it. So write down who's exactly your customer. Where should I go? To whom should I talk to sell your idea once the product is finished? It should not be names. Okay, everyone got it? Raise your hand if you're ready. Waiting for the next question. Okay, so second one. It's very simple. Why do they care? So what is it that makes them care? What problem are you solving for them? What task are you getting done that they frequently have? Or what need are you serving? What is the reason why they would care about your offer or something similar? That's a hard question, right? Okay, give it a try. Okay, who's got it already? Okay, so third question. What's the value you generate for them? Now, it's not what product do you offer, but what impact has your product? How does it change their life? How does it change their day? How does it change their mood? So how are you getting it done? Why they should care. Okay? Okay, answer the question. I'm going to take a selfie.
In front of the crowd.
Okay. I think that was so 2014, right? Anyway, everybody got the answer, right? Okay? Okay, who's super brave and answered all 3 questions? Super brave?
I asked all 3 questions.
That's cool, and you're super brave, trust me. Everything's fine. So, don't talk about it.
No.
I'm going to sell it for you. Who's your customer?
My customer are curry houses in Munich.
Curry houses. Okay, that's a different. Is anyone here from a curry house? I thought so. Okay, we need to follow up after the meetup. Okay. Who else has 3 answers and is super brave? Who's your customers?
My customers are youth football trainers between age 16 and 25 with a smartphone.
Very cool. Okay, who is the coach for his son's or daughter's soccer team? Here we are. I thought so. Okay. So, now, second question. Why would he care?
Because he has too much effort with communication with the players, or they're too young with the parents.
Okay, did you ever find the situation that, correct me if I'm wrong, that you really had a lot of trouble communicating with them?
I know the problem, but I've got a solution for that.
So tell me about it. How are you doing it?
Yeah, there's a web page, or there are several ones you can use just to register everybody, and you can have a simple platform to communicate all the scheduling and stuff.
Okay, so what's the biggest problem it's actually solving? So before you found that, how did you do it?
I started with it from the beginning, so, but probably it would have been, I don't know, WhatsApp or email or something like that. But you never get feedback by everybody, like for games and stuff, and you have to collect everything. If you have a central platform, then you can see who's registered for the game.
Okay, is everyone happy with that solution, or are there some things which could be done much better?
Some are a bit lazy using it sometimes. You
Oh,
know, busy parents,
okay.
but I think I found a good way to deal with
So they need to go to the website, log in, and
yeah, or you can have an app. It's no problem.
I see. Okay, how's that called? That system?
It's Unser Team.
Unser Team. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
It's quite a poor website, but it fulfills the need. You
Okay,
know?
the longer I would talk to him and just let him tell what's the problem is, what impact it has, and how the system helps you or not, the more I would learn actually about him as a customer. So that's actually, thanks so much. Thanks for the so that's the simple way of getting into a conversation. So, and the most important thing was, we didn't at all talk about your product idea, right? Something with mobile, and we know the problem to be solved. But I have no idea what exactly we're going for. And that's one of the most important lessons learned, to really first start with who is it and why would they care and how are they solving it for today. Actually, the response was pretty good, because the fact that you're using a software does not mean that it's a bad idea you're having. But what it really means is it was important to solve it. You've been looking for a solution.
Yeah.
What could be better if there were a lot of things that were annoying? So we would go for more interviews, talk to more people, and see what's going on with others and see whether they found it. So that's the pretty simple way to get started. Shall we do one more?
Yeah.
Okay, who's your customer?
Okay. So the customer are middle-aged women with children and living parents that live more than 5 hours driving away.
Okay, anyone here matching that description?
I don't think so.
I didn't get the answer.
Say it again. Your parents are living at least 5 hours away. Parents or in-laws.
Okay.
Okay. So why would she care?
Because she's under pressure to find a unique and meaningful gift for a big birthday, 60, 70, 80.
Yeah, have you ever had that problem? Big birthday coming up and not sure whether you find a present and whether it's good enough.
You mean a birthday for my kid?
No,
No.
for your parents.
For my parents.
Yeah. Somehow always women get stuff done.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so when's the next birthday coming up?
60 or 70.
In August?
Okay.
August.
Yeah.
Okay, do you already have a present?
No.
Okay. So now, do you think it will be easy to find?
Not really.
Oh, that's That's a very good question. Repeat that. Is it important to have a really good present? Okay, well, it's nothing we should ask in public, actually. But actually, that's the way to go. So what we saw here is, on a general level, there was no response at all. Like, I don't have the problem now. So when's the next birthday coming up? And suddenly you find, whoa, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So it really matters right now. We can be sure that this is good data. Okay? So, good one. Another applause, please. Thanks much. So, when talking to customers, that's basically the way to get started. And I didn't do some things that are typical mistakes we do when talking to customers. So, we don't have the time to go full-fledged into what you can do wrong, but there are two things which usually happen. Like, don't use your Jedi tricks, right? So, wouldn't you think that a really cool solution for finding the best present for a 60th, 70th, 80th birthday would help a lot? How could you ever answer no, right? So that's just, suggestion is the number one thing that you can use to think that your product can generate value, but all you did was just programming the answer right from the beginning. So beware of any suggestion. Now the second thing is, we didn't have that in these talks, but we all can't really predict what we're going to do. We don't know ourselves. Here's why. 80% of fitness studio memberships are idle. So although people pay money for it, for like 2-year subscriptions, they don't go there. Do you think we would actually pay that and subscribe to that if we were knowing that before? So whatever you ask people what they're going to do in the future, you can trust it. And of course the question is, how are we going to find out what they're actually going to do? And that's, we're looking into the past. But coming up, the key question is, how do we learn to run the appropriate set of interviews? And learning it, basically, there are two very affordable and fun ways to do that. I recommend both of them. Number one day reading on your own of Rob Fitzpatrick's The Mom Test. So that's really a very nice book with lots of stereotypes on things you can do wrong and how to hack them right. And the other thing that I recommend even more is 1 weekend of learning and doing it with Lean Startup Machine. And that's what I'm going to tell a little bit more. So Lean Startup Machine is going to be back in Munich, August 7 to 9, with 99% likelihood. And we're going to be at beautiful Payback. So right next to Theresienwiese. And before I tell you, I would like to ask, who's been at Lean Startup Machine? Raise your hand. Okay, in one word, if you could describe it, what word would that be?
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, thanks much. So, Lean Startup Machine is a real awesome, raise your hands again, real awesome weekend. When we have the beer break next, remember these faces, talk to them what they did, and hear how it moves them. I've been with Lean Startup Machine first in 2012 as a mentor, and even as a mentor I was fascinated that so many people walk through one weekend and it changes the way you think. It completely changes the way that you start with new ideas. So what is Lean Startup Machine? It's an international workshop format. So by now it's more. In 2013 it has been 200 workshops worldwide. And it's the one workshop that in Germany only happens in Munich since 4 years, and every year fails in Berlin. I don't know why, but somehow it doesn't happen there, so it's unique. You can only do it in Munich. And I thought I'd bring you some impressions of what it looks like and tell you. So we usually start it on Friday evening, and this is what it all starts with. It starts with pitches. So everyone can bring an idea or come as a team. And then we start idea pitching. So anything, whether you think it's going to be working or whether you think it would just be a cool something, just pitch it. And then teams are going to gather. And it's going to be a little bit like like Wall Street, when people are trying to sell their ideas to recruit teams, because you need a minimum of 4 team members to work on the idea for the weekend. And well, it looks like they are not having fun. Yeah, it's really, that's the fun stuff of it all. So we built teams out of nothing. There's of course some icebreakers and stuff. And then teams are going to work through the weekend on that idea and going to learn lean. So that's the first thing, fun. The second thing is you learn. So learning means you get the concepts from experts in expert talks. Brief expert talks, they are like 20% of the weekend. And then afterwards, you always have a big time slot to instantly apply them. So you get an introduction and then you just do it. And the mentors around will help you learn better. So these are like 3 of the speakers we had last year on customer interviews, pitching, which is not selling, but actually seeing whether the value corresponds to people, and Niels on concierge. So, and here's the guy with the photobomb. So that's the mentor team. Who's that guy? So mentors are people who have a lean startup track record that we know and actually have to apply and need to pass a test. So we had a really cool mentor, Rob Johnson, last year from, what's the startup called, Thomas? Makers Academy from London. He's a customer development pro. Fabian from Produktmacher, René from App Conditioner, and that photobomb guy. So you really see that mentors even go out with teams and help them properly apply the interviews. So that's the most important thing, do. What we do as mentors in 80% of our time is make sure you actually get out of the building, which is a fun thing to do. Because what people do, they come in and then they start discussing and arguing, arguing. And we simply say, hey, it's going to be wrong anyway. Once you go out and measure, you're going to invalidate your assumptions. So just do that. Go out, talk to customers. Customers always know better than you can discuss. And that's the mindset that changes actually over the weekend. Because as it's a bunch of like 20 teams, some of the teams really quickly get into the methodology and show the way to the others. So what you do is you interview customers, you measure them. So we show you how to collect the data, how to run the experiments, and how to evolve your idea to succeed. This is what it looks like. That's the key visual tool we have, the Javelin board, where you track your experiments. And that guy again. And then, of course, getting out of the building a lot. We need to take more pictures from outside this year. So, by the way, nice notebook you have there. And it's all a competition. That's the one thing to say. And that is different from other competitions. Because this time, it's the team winning that shows the most evidence. So you need to show us when you pitch not the most flashiest slides ever, not the most perfectional performance you can do, but you need to show us what you learned, how you did it, and what traction you actually generated. So you need to prove that you haven't found a vitamin, not a painkiller, but an addictive drug within 48 hours. That's the way to win. And so pitching part 1 looks like this. You're actually going to show how the Javelin board evolved. So each column here is an experiment, and it may really end up something like here with 12 experiments if you're going really fast. This is a good result, by the way, with 6 experiments. But the faster you go, the more you'll find. And you're going to find out what's the right way to come up with speed. Now that's the first thing. You get a maximum of 10 points for that. The other thing you get a maximum of 10 points for is actual traction. This is much better to read slides from here. So this is really what the winners team presentation last year looked like. So they had direct call and chat, they had face-to-face sales, and they listed the revenue they were able to acquire. Means they need to prove to us that customers actually believed it was a real sale. It doesn't have to be one, it can be one if you already have something deliverable, but customers have to believe that it was a real sale. So for the customers, it was a sale. And well, it can easily be that at a Lean Startup Machine weekend, you need to provide a few thousand euros of sales to win that weekend. And that's 48 hours after pitching the idea. Sounds incredible, right? So even if you haven't been there, you can't really imagine it, but that's the way it works. So this is the winners team of last year. And one of the things they had, they were starting with an idea for photography people. They came up with the idea that people need to understand whether the next equipment they buy for the camera will be really good. And they were testing that idea and they found, well, it's not the camera business that's working. And then they found themselves in the basement of Karstadt or Kaufhof, I think, in the golf department, because they came up with the idea, hey, it may apply to golf players. And within like 15 minutes, they had a crowd of people standing around them, interested in the product, which again invalidated my assumption, because I was thinking, hey, in the golf department, you find one customer every few days. And they had a crowd totally interested in what they were talking about as a problem, not as a solution. So that is how they got traction. Now, all that's left for me is, please join. So please register at bit.ly Alison Munich 2015. And then you'll get updated on all the next steps that are coming. So it's going to be starting with insider sales, so selling tickets just to those people registered there. And then you can join us for the weekend. And the other question, I didn't say that, we're not making tons of money with that. We're only getting a little bit of money, but it's really, this is our addictive drug because we love that weekend. We really love that weekend. It's so much fun to be there, and it's a lot of time to be invested. So that's why please help us to connect with sponsors and media partners to make that event known and well funded, so that we can have free snacks and drinks and all that stuff. So that's it about customer development and my little pitch for Lean Startup Machine. And I'd love to follow up during the break. Thanks much.
Does anyone have any questions?
Questions? Gerhard.
When was the exact date for the Lean Startup Machine?
Oh, thanks. That's August 7th to 9th. So that's like feels like first weekend in August.
How much does it cost?
Inside the sale will be like $100 or euros, around that. Yeah, it's a US platform, and actually we've seen both of them happen before, so it will be around that area.
And what's included in the like the workshop?
That's the whole weekend. That's the whole
Food and the drinks?
right. Food, drinks, materials, like everything. So I think there is one lunch you have to pay on that Saturday because you're out of the building, and that's when we don't have lunch. But apart from that, you have breakfast, you have dinner, you have lunch. So it's all included there. And the fun is included as well if you bring it. We bring it at least. Okay, any other questions? No, cool. Let's have some more beer.